My camera was not working. Are you one of those people who feels like you have these sales calls, things are going well. They're like, I'm almost positive I'm in. I'm almost certain I'm in. And then they go, but let me think about it. And then you never hear from them again. So you follow up, you do all of the right things, and you're left wondering, what the heck happened? Well, you're in luck. I'm going to help you with this today. My name is Jana Nixa. I am the authentic sales coach and the conversion queen. I help entrepreneurs create high ticket offers that sell and then teach them simple skill sets to get clients consistently. So, what we're going to talk about today is all about my top 3 reasons why you're having this happen and what to do about it. So, let's dig in. Okay. So if you're one of those who feels like they're having sales calls, you're getting on them pretty consistently, you feel like they're picking up what you're laying down, and then all of a sudden it just kind of goes nowhere, right? They say they need to think about it, or I got to get the money together, or whatever the reason is, and then they're gone. And it's almost heartbreaking, right? Because you're like, what did I do? I thought this was going well. Well, I'm going to give you some really key insights after working with hundreds of clients and really helping people over the course of my entire 21-year sales career on why this happens and what to do about it. And no, it's none of that manipulative bro pushy stuff, right? We're going to really understand sales psychology, what makes people buy, what makes people not buy, and how to know the difference as to when it's maybe your offer or maybe not a good fit versus something that you said, right? Some skill set situations, because sometimes we don't know, right? Okay, so the first thing, let's assume that it's a good offer for them. It's a good fit, okay? First, I'd like you to really intuitively lean into trusting yourself around that. And when we get those intuitive hits, to know when to go, you know what? This is not going to be a good fit, versus listening to your ego that says, but I need the money. Let's do it. Because trust me when I say you don't want those clients. Okay. I also want you to lean into, you can't lose the right client. And it's just a matter of just understanding some of these fundamental pieces that's going to make all the difference on your sales calls. And no, it's not going to be found in some script. And no, it's not about being pushy or convincing anyone or backing anyone into a corner. That is not, no one here, think about it. You don't like that being done to you. No one wants that done to them. So we really have to come at this in an entirely different way. So what I would first ask you is, are you doing some of those things? If you're being forceful, if you're manipulating, if you're being pushy, if you're feeling super uncomfortable, I would really look at that, because people are not going to buy from you if you are uncomfortable in your own skin. And I just want you to know, I know a lot of sales coaches teach those type of tactics out there, but if they don't feel aligned to you and it doesn't feel authentic to who you are, your clients are going to pick up on that. And so just know that there's an entirely different way to do this that's available to you if you would like. Check out this description if you want to know more information about how we work with people. So let's dig into why this may be happening. So let's say you're not doing those things. You're really being sincere, genuine, and leading with integrity. What now? Well, the first thing I see most people doing on a sales call is way too much talking. You should only be talking maybe 10, 15%. That's it. All the rest should be your client. So the only talking you need to be doing is when you are asking good open-ended questions with neutral curiosity, just trying to understand more about their situation. And then the 3 to 5 minutes where you're pitching your offer. Okay. Everything else is you zipping it and just understanding them. Customers don't buy when they feel understood. Customers don't buy when they feel like they understand you and all of your things and how brilliant you are. Customers buy, don't get it twisted, Jana, when they feel understood. What is the best way for us to feel understood? Think about it. When somebody's listening to us, they're empathizing, they're understanding our needs, and they're even demonstrating that by repeating our words back to us and checking in and making sure that, that they're picking up what you're laying down. So number one is you've got to be active listening. And I don't mean listening, waiting to talk. I mean active listening, really picking up on not just what they're saying, but what they're not saying, their energy, so that you can even formulate better questions. That's why I teach a questioning framework to really get better at sales calls and not a script, because conversations cannot be scripted. Monologues can be scripted. Dialogues, not such, because they are the ones answering these questions. So it's up to you to really actively listen and see what's going on so that you can pick up on what they're saying and also what they're not saying, so that you can tailor your questions accordingly. Okay. What active listening does is it builds rapport. I very, very rarely have somebody ghost me. And it's because I have built so much rapport with them on the sales call. It's one thing to ghost somebody that you didn't have a good experience with, right? And you're just like, screw them. It's totally different to ghost somebody that you really do respect, that you really do want to learn from, that you really like. And so that's one thing I would really, really get you guys to lean into here is, how can I be a better listener? How can I build more rapport and connection so that that doesn't even enter their mind? Because when you create that mutual respect, people aren't going to ghost you. It's as simple as that. Like I said, every so often, I will have one of those people that has a really hard time with confrontation, or, whatever it may be, which again, that's their own stuff. But for the most part, everybody is always responding to any follow-ups or invitations or anything. And that's because of my ability to listen and build that rapport. I genuinely feel that everybody that gets off a sales call with me knows how much I care. And that's what's most important. They don't care what you know until they know that you care. Okay. Listening, and specifically active listening, is your way there. Okay. Now we're rhyming. All right. The second one that I see people doing all the time is they are focusing on the process instead of the payoff. They are not speaking their ideal client's language, which is results. And they're trying to sell the recipe and not the cake. And so what do I mean by all of this? So your clients, they don't care about how many calls you're going to get, how many modules there are, what's going to be going on, in Vox or chats or Facebook groups. That's not it for them. They want to hear about the transformation. They want to know who they get to become through this process and what their life is going to look like on the other side. Okay. So that's why it's sell the cake, not the recipe. And what I see a lot of people do is they come in and they're talking about all the logistics of the program, thinking that's selling the program. And it's not. That just sounds like a lot of work. They're like, we're going to keep a food diary, and I'm going to give you your shopping list, and we're going to help you food prep. That's not it. Nobody wants to learn that stuff, right? They want to know, by the end of this, it's going to feel, you're going to love eating healthy. You're going to drop the dress sizes you want to drop. You're going to be able to go to that high school. What is it? Not graduation. I've got graduation on the brain. High school get together. I can't think of the name of it. Where, you're going to look fabulous and all of these other pieces, and not, excuse me, not about the food diaries. Okay. It's about what they're going to get by the end of this thing and how they're going to feel and who are they becoming through this process. People lose sight of this all the time. You don't just want to lose weight to lose weight. You want to lose weight so that you can go on that cruise with all your girlfriends and feel like $1,000,000, or go to the stinking graduation thing that I can't think of the name of. But the thing is, people focus on the parts of it that you like to nerd out on. And again, that's where we're not making it about them and we're making it about us. And that often happens when we do too much talking. So, do you see how these things are all kind of coming together? So, you've got to speak their language in a way that they understand it, not over their head, no technical babble. Okay. That's another big thing I see people doing when it comes to speaking their language. They're selling the recipe, not the cake. And they're also talking about all this complicated stuff that the client, we're going to do breath work, and we're going to heal your witch wound and your inner child. And all of that is the process. Even like, I'm going to give you tracks of meditations. Like, that's not it. What are they going to get as a result of all of the process? Okay. So think about that. I actually had a client, actually a friend of mine who's a coach, who was telling me and using the example of Disney. Disney is not selling the plane ride and the lines and the expenses and all of those pieces. Golly, hang on one second, guys. Disney is selling the experience, you know, happiest place on earth. I mean, literally, they sell that in the actual reality and process of it all. For most of us, it is not that. And so, be like Disney and really focus on what the people want and not all of the things. They don't want to talk about how long the lines are. They don't want to talk about how hot it is. They don't want to talk about that waters are $8 a piece. I mean, do you see where I'm going with this? So you've got to focus on the payoff, the results, and even more importantly, what are they going to get? So what's in that for you is you're going to get X, Y, and Z on the other side of this, right? How is this going to manifest in their life? It's not just about losing 5-10 pounds. Okay. And guess what? Again, let's weave these all together. They're going to tell you what their reasons are on that call. So when you go to present your offer, you're going to use those words, because they may not be going on a cruise with their friends, but I guarantee you they have a reason for why they want to do what they're doing. And you want to bring that into the conversation, because again, it signals to their brain that you're listening and that you care. And you're not just giving them some canned message about your offer, that you're actually customizing it already and tailoring it to what they want and their needs. Okay. The next one is your sales process itself. So it's really interesting. My clients usually fall into one of two buckets. Either one, they are trying to create content and hoping that that's going to do everything for them, and that people are just going to magically drop into their DMs and want to buy, which is not how it works. Spoiler alert. Or I have the other people who, even though I don't teach cold DMs, they are doing the DMs and then wanting to do all the sales on the sales call, right? What I suggest and what I work with my clients on is I want you to start to think of a bigger picture sales process and how all of these things can complement each other and work together. And what I mean by that is, what do they need to believe, and what objections do they need to overcome in order to see your offer is the best solution for them? Your content needs to do that for them. Okay. Not give them tips and tricks and just value content. We also have to look at the big elephants in the room and just go ahead and overcome them. If you hear a certain objection all the time, talk about it in your content and why it's not true, and tell a story about how a client didn't have that issue, even though they thought they were going to, right? Like, we want to call out the elephant in the room, as I say, as much as possible before the sales call. This is just resistance. But if we can go ahead and just call it out and deal with it, then your sales call, you don't have to move as far. So I want you to think of your content and all the different ways that you do it as an opportunity to go ahead and address some of those things, So by the time they get to you, they already know it's a high ticket investment, right? They already know that If you want things, if nothing changes, nothing changes. They already know that knowledge is not power, right? Information that's implemented and getting feedback. That's where the power is. Integration of knowledge is power. And so if they already know those things because you've addressed it in your content through storytelling and what I like to call conversion content, or if you're doing it in a podcast, you're addressing it there too. Or if you're doing it from a stage, you're addressing it there too. But essentially, you're going ahead and calling out some of those things so that you don't have as far to move them on the sales call. So that's what I like to teach my clients about content. It is not about being consistent and adding value. It is about taking them through a process and helping them understand what their real problem is, why they're in the situation they are, and what is the real solution, and why other things haven't worked, And so it's insight, it's belief shifting content. It's helping them see where you fit into that and why you, based on what you've shared and now the journey that they've been on with you, they can already see when they come to the call why you're a good fit for them, why they are in the situation they're in. And they're also primed that, listen, if I don't do something different, then I'm going to be in the same situation. So imagine them coming in that way, like just coming on ready to buy. And that's what your content can do when you do it in the quote unquote right way. But it is not about being consistent. If you're writing content because, I got to get something out on a Tuesday, that's not it. Okay. It's very carefully curated based on what they need to see to already know that you're the best choice for them. And the same goes for DMs. Like we can DM people and everything, but we want to either, whether it's being done in the DMs or you're sending them to maybe like your YouTube page or somewhere where you're creating that content and addressing some of these things. If you're not doing that, then like I said, on the sales call, you're going to have a long way to go with them. So you want not just content, but a sales process. And you want not just a cold DM, but again, taking them through a sales process so that they're warm by the time they come to the sales call. Okay. So those are my top 3 reasons that I see people ghosting. Because at the end of the day, if you haven't connected with them, if you're not speaking their language, and if you haven't already started to handle some of their objections and help them see your product as the best solution for them prior to the call, then they're not going to get on very invested. And they're certainly not going to feel like they owe you any explanation as to why they ghosted. But if you're already building, if there's anything you take away from this, if you're building that relationship, if you're honoring and being respectful of them on the call and they can feel your heart, they're not just going to ghost you because now you've been human with them. And that's the most important thing. At the end of the day, I believe in my direct experience, whether you're talking about my now 25 years of sales experience, both as a coach and as a top performing sales executive, 40,000 sales calls, guys, it's nothing to like slouch around, is when you really open up and treat them like a human being and you're not all trying to get it right and all up in your head and all the things and making it about you, they don't ghost. Because most humans are nice people and they don't want to do that to somebody that they've had a wonderful experience with. So I know it's a little bit of tough truth, but when we do it salesy, when we do it pushy, even if they're being nice to us, they're not going to want to be back in that situation again. When you do it with love, when you do it with service, when you do it with your whole heart, they have nothing to fear about getting, following up and having another conversation with you or responding to you in the DMs. So take what resonates as always and leave the rest. But please like, subscribe, share this with somebody else that needs to hear it. That's just stuck in that icky sales thing and they're not signing clients. They're getting ghosted. Like share it with them. And I will see you all next week. Bye for now.